Muslims say it, Unitarians say it, biblical critics say it. Jesus never claimed to be God. But in Matthew 23:34, Jesus says, Muslims say it, Unitarians say it, biblical critics say it. Jesus never claimed to be God. But in Matthew 23:34, Jesus says, I am sending you prophets and wise men and scribes. Hold up, who sends prophets? Only God does. 2 Chronicles 36:15 makes it clear, the Lord, the God of their fathers, sent word to them again and again by his messengers. Yet Jesus says here that he's the one doing it. That's a divine job description. Then, in Matthew 23:37, Jesus mourns over Jerusalem, saying, How often I have longed to gather you and your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you are not willing. But in the Old Testament, it's God alone who shelters his people under his wings. Psalm 91:4 declares, He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. So let's get this straight. Jesus sends prophets, like Yahweh does. He gathers and protects his people, like Yahweh does. And yet we're supposed to believe that he never claimed to be God? Jesus claimed to do what only God does, precisely because he is God. Muslims say it, Unitarian.
Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to begin by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to hopefully elect. Alright, so it's clear from the video that we just saw, right? We have a guy who seems to have found a way to prove that Yahushua claimed to be the Most High, right? Yahushua claimed to be Yahweh, right? So he says, right? So he goes to, Matthew 23, and he reads this, right? Matthew 23 and 34. And we'll really just read it in the scriptures. It says, wherefore, or let's read up a little bit. Get some more context. But this is Matthew 23 and 29. It reads, Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres, Salakia, of the righteous. It says, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets. Right? Verse 32, fill ye up then the measure of your fathers, right? Because you gotta understand, it's a thing of regeneration. The prophets came back. So if you was a prophet, back in the days of Jeremiah, Daniel, Elias, so on and so forth. If he was a prophet back then you would have been, a prophet in the days that Yahushua walked the earth. But if you was one of the ones who came against the prophets back then you would be doing the same to Yahushua and his doctrine, the truth. Right? So he's basically saying, that they came back, that they are their fathers. Verse 33, ye serpents, ye generation of vipers, how can ye escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them ye shall kill and crucify, and some of them shall ye scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city. Right, so he's using this to say only Yahweh, right, only the Father sends prophets, so he must be the Father. But that's not the case, right? That's not the case. And let's see. This is really one easy way to debunk the whole first, I hate how specific you have to be with this. Let's see. I know it's in. I think it's in. Well, I'll just do it this way. This might take a while. I know it's in. Might be between here. First. I think it was a letter of Paul, but I could be wrong. So like, bear with me. Come on. Salakia. Let me see if I can bring it up this way. Firstborn. Salakia. I butchered that. This is Colossians 1 and 16. Or Salakia 15. Or just, I'll just read up to 12. Right, it says, giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who hath delivered us from the power of darkness, and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son. Two different people. It was known amongst the apostles and the disciple that Yahushua was not the Most High himself. This is known, right? Verse 14, I mean, like I said, it's going to prove it. Verse 14 says, in whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible power, the firstborn of every creature, right? Now, somebody say, well, he just said he's the image of the invisible power. Well, doesn't the scriptures say that we are all created in the Most High's image? So are we all the Most High? No. But again, the very next part of it, the firstborn of every creature. The firstborn. The Most High did not have an origin. He didn't have a creator. Right? To be the firstborn of every creature, you had to have a creator. You had to come from something. So he is not the Most High himself. Right? So, and I mean, I'll read the next verse because somebody say I'm trying to skip over it, right? We don't avoid scriptures, right? So this is verse 16. It says, for by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist, right? So if you go, I mean, you got to know, or go into the book of Genesis, right, where that word for God, there was Elohim. If you're diligent and do your research, Elohim is plural, meaning the powers, right? So Yahushua, the Son, the Messiah, the Savior, he was the firstborn. He was the first creature. And then he helped create everything else. It's quite simple, right? You can't be born of something. You can't be born if you have no creator, right? The Most High Yahweh was not born. He wasn't created, right? But this is known. But this is how the Christian church is so confusing, because you can't say both things. You understand? But
Unitarian equals 3650.
This video.
23:30 job messengers. Yet Jesus says here that he's the one doing it. That's a divine job description. Then in Matthew 23:37, Jesus mourns over Jerusalem, saying, "How often I have longed to gather you and your children together, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, but you are not willing." But in the Old Testament, it's God alone who shelters his people under his wings. Psalm 91:4 declares, "He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge." So let's get this straight.
Yeah, let's get this straight, like he said, right? So if he covers us under, what is like what is this whole thing? What are we doing right now? We're bidding to what? The marriage of who? The saints, right? And Yahweh Shai, the Most High, right, is preparing us to be likened unto a bride of Yahweh Shai, right? This is Matthew 20. Wait, is this what I want? Oh, it's Salakia. I forgot to read that. But we'll deal with the point I said just now, and then we'll get back to that, Lord willing. But this is 2 Corinthians 11 and 1. It says, "What to the Most High ye could bear with me a little in my folly, and indeed bear with me. For I am jealous over you with a godly jealousy, for I have espoused you to one husband, that I may present you as a chaste virgin to the Hamashiach." So if we, that's the thing, we were presented unto the Most High. So when he's, taking us under his wings, right, we belong to the Most High, right? Because, Jerusalem is talking about the people, right? It's not the city, it's the people, right? And who come of Jerusalem? The Israelites. So we are the children of Jerusalem, right? We are all supposed to be espoused unto Yahweh Shai. We're supposed to, be that chaste virgin, right? And it's quite literally as simple as that. You trying to make some, far-fetched connection, because they say similar things, right? But, all the words of the scriptures are given through inspiration of the Father, right? Through the Spirit. So it doesn't work how he's trying to make it work, to be quite simple. But let me get back to this point in Matthew 28. Because again, right, just like this, where he's gathering his chicks under his wing, and sending prophets, and so on and so forth. It could easily be stopped by, or cut. His way of understanding could easily be cut by this scripture. This is Matthew 28:18. It says, "And Yahweh Shai came and spake unto them, saying, All power is given unto me in heaven and in earth." Given means what? Somebody, someone, something had to give it to you, to Yahweh Shai. Somebody had to give it to Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai didn't give it to himself. He didn't say, "Here's self, here's power." No. It had to be given. Right? And it's quite simple. We can read this. There's plenty of scriptures that debunk this belief. Might be in Matthew. Let me read this one. Hebrews 10 and 12. It says, but this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, right? Yahushua being that great sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice, sat down on the right hand of the Most High. He's not sitting in the seat of the Most High. He sat down beside the Most High, right? And it's not, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that's exactly the one that I wanted. Because Yahushua said it himself, if I'm not mistaken. Is this what I want? No, that's not what I want. I might be mistaken, but the point is still made, right? He's not sitting in the seat of the Father. He's sitting beside him, right? But, I'll just read one more. I think it's Corinthians. This is 1 Corinthians 11 and 3. It says, but I would have you know that the head of every man is the Hamashiach, and the head of every woman, of the head of the man, of the woman, Salakia, is the man, and the head of the Hamashiach is the Most High. So if he is the Most High, how can he have a head? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. But I'm going to end it right there. I don't want to begin to ramble and, so on and so forth. So, Lord willing, it was edifying. I might have jumped around a few times. But I'm going to end this by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the great millstone. And Shalom to the elect.